All right, welcome to the Mark Pattison Show. We are here with another special guest. We're basically just going to talk about, how the market is, how long you've been in the industry, what it's been like, going through this, as we all been calling it, the shift, and what your plan is and what you think for buyers, and a little bit about sellers, what their plan is for the rest of the year in 2022 and how it's going to work out. So welcome to the Mark Pattison Show. I went from being a solo agent to selling over $1 billion in real estate in just 6 years. I flip houses, I run a portfolio of investment properties, and I help people like you create lifestyles they couldn't even imagine living. I'm going to show you how to make riches through real estate. Welcome to the Mark Pattison Show. Go ahead and introduce yourself, and let's get started.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Thank you for having me. My name's Rafael. I work here for Porchlight Realty. Been on the team now for just over a year, 15 months. In my first 15 months, I have done 16 transactions, 11 million closed and pending, hopefully more to come.
Nice. So not too bad. Most agents, for those that are viewing, is usually about 1 to 3 their first year transactions. So the fact that you're already the 15 mark and about 1 a month, it does take some time to get started out. So congrats on that, man. What would you say right now? I mean, as a new agent and just the challenges that you face, we can talk more on like the agent side, and then we'll talk more, just advice to clients that you always give and how to protect your clients throughout this kind of shift that we're having. For new agents out there, what would you say that your schedule, how many days are you working? What's it like when you're a brand new agent?
Yeah, I think, going toward the agent side right now, I think from a schedule standpoint, my first year in the business was all 7 days. Definitely takes a grind, weekend showings, a lot of prospecting, follow-up work during the week to make sure that you're busy come the weekend. My first year in, I would argue that I probably worked about 6 to 7 days pretty much every week for the first full year.
Yeah, very rare to take a day off. It's funny when you your friends want to do something on a Saturday. If you don't have showing scheduled, you're kind of like, no, I'm good. I just want to sit home.
Yeah, just balancing that, a little bit of relaxation if you do get it, but then also realizing, especially with, our lead sources and our production, that, even if you schedule that Saturday, you could amount to a last minute showing. So you almost feel, for me, a lot of it was you almost feel guilty, scheduling those time periods or those time blocks for self-use, just because it could be taken away from future business.
For sure. And I think it is. I mean, it's bad because, people will say, oh, you're going to burn out. This 1 year, 2 year introductory for becoming a real estate agent, it's not a forever. That's what's cool is you can see what it's like. But I mean, looking at the agents that have been on the team now 5 years, but more like when they hit their 4 year mark, their 3 year mark, then they talked about taking their vacations. So Sam and Joe and Allie, now they have work-life balance. But that year 1, awful. Year 2 gets better.
And I think that it's all a direct reflection. Those people are all, year 3, year 4, a lot of the agents that I, strongly look up to. You see it, and it's proportionate to the work that they put in year 1 and year 2. And that's, the overall mindset that I had coming into it was this is going to be a, 4 to 6 year project. It is going to be a complete career shift from me and where I came from. So I'm going to load the first 1.5 to 2 years as much as I can, so that year 3, 4, 5, you're getting referral business, you're getting better leads, you're getting active buyers who are actually looking at the time, and a little bit of personal touch to it because you've already helped people in the past.
For sure. I mean, that you put in the work because every single person you're speaking to in the beginning is someone new. Typically your sphere of influence, your friends, your family, they're not going to be buying from you because you're not the expert. They see you as the bartender, the person who worked at the restaurants. They don't see you as the real estate agent. But that quickly changes. But it is that grind for that first year and providing value and education to those clients so that when your friends and family or those clients buy and they come back and refer you, it does get easier to where it's like, oh my gosh, the hard work up front. I always think of it as you just push. It's like once you get to the top of the mountain, you can see the view, you can finally take a breath. And then almost year 3, year 4, it's almost like smooth sailing. You're just going downhill. People call you to sell their house.
Yeah, and I think that timeline's pretty accurate, and it has a lot that I have to do in mind. Obviously, I haven't gotten to that point of that year 2 or year 3, but, even coming onto the team, the markers that we've set and kind of our original talks that we had when, you're like, if you grind and you do the work for the first month with Porchlight University and the foundation and then understand it and you make your dials and you get comfortable on the calls, everything will click right around like 4 to 6 months. And, I think my personal sales history will contribute to that being, nothing but fact, because I feel the same way. The first month is the foundation. For me, month 2 was calls. And then right around, month 4 or 5, you really start to find your voice, right? Your own individual personality, but then also that knowledge that you've, accumulated mixed with like real world experience, right? So that trust factor begins to come into play.
Yes. And when you have that, it's all about education, because when you're dealing with someone's purchase, which is most likely their largest transaction they've ever done is a home purchase. And it's so important that you are educating yourself. So the work that you put in your 5-6 months, I mean, you were like absolutely grinding on education, coming to every class, showing up to every, huddle, figuring out what you needed to know so that when you did meet that client, no client is just like a layup, like an easy, just let's get it done. You've got to fight for your clients, especially the last 6 months that we went through. And right now we can talk about how the market has shifted. And when we mean shift, it doesn't mean the market's crashing, despite what the news loves to go and just put all over the media saying what's happening to housing. What truly happened, and we can talk about, is that we had low interest rates for far too long. And then the fact that COVID, so we didn't have the supplies and we didn't have basically, the job market was down. So they were pushing money out. Inflation rose. Now to combat inflation, they raise interest rates. Interest rates rise, and then the buyers and sellers kind of freak out. Homes are still selling. So right now our team is still going to close, I think, 70 houses this month. So it's still moving along, and that's great. And is it a good time to buy? Like if you're right now a buyer looking at the market and, interest rates went up, pricing kind of looks a little different. Maybe I'm thinking home prices are dropping. What would you say to a buyer that's looking?
Yeah, I mean, I think much like everything else in real estate, it's going to be so situational based, right? For a lot of people, I look at it, if you're renting, I absolutely do believe it is a good time to buy. First time home buyers, the only people that, I would even begin to caution at all. And it's not a caution to purchase or sell and then buy. It's just about personal financial situation or financial gain, what they may owe on taxes if they haven't been in their property long enough. But I'm strongly seeing buyers win in this market right now. And for those people, I encourage them to look at those patterns that we're seeing, right, where things are sitting on the market a little bit longer, where, sellers are starting to concess credits or, actually repair the issues that they weren't doing in our market too long ago. And that's a huge win for buyers right now. And that's what I'm really trying to show them is, if you can get in ahead of these, major price reductions and get an offer in and feel confident that you're putting a fair and competitive offer, and you could really win in today's market, truthfully, as a buyer.
For sure. And I mean, say a home's listed for $800 right now. We don't mean that you can come in $250,000 under because the market's going to crash and no seller is going to accept your offer. And the reason being is that we're not seeing what we saw before. It's an inventory issue and it's a housing issue. There's not enough housing for the amount of people that live here. And that's nationwide. They stopped building houses when the market crashed 2008, 2009. There's about 10 years where they didn't build housing. And I mean, of course, houses went up and things, but I'm talking about major development. And now we're seeing that that's the issue. But when you go into it, it's situational. It goes back to, are you going to live in this place? Are you renting? Because right now, when inflation rises, what happens to rents?
They increase. And that's a huge part also. I was sharing this conversation that I actually went to a rental open house over the weekend. My mom's planning on relocating and just seeing the opposite side, right? The rental market, and talking to people that were in line that have been looking for 5-6 months. Still haven't been able to get into things. They say it's just like super competitive. That's a huge portion. I agree with you full force that, San Diego's unique in its own right, that, when you turn on this national media coverage and they're pushing this, stronghold or, this threshold of break-even point, it doesn't directly correlate to San Diego, right? Because we're not so much an economic issue as much as we are the inventory issue. I tell all my buyers, you have 3 major colleges within a 13-mile radius of each other that are all 3 of them dealing with a major student housing crisis. You've got the rental market, which is out of control. We are one of if not, top 5 most competitive Airbnb short-term rental markets. And then we just have a very desirable living, even at the cost of living here. I think a lot of people may be under the impression, or I get a lot of feedback from buyers that they just ultimately believe that it's not sustainable with the rise in interest rates and the rise in home costs. And I just seem to believe that even with our median average of income, people are going to pay to live here. I truly believe it. So, and you're seeing it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a bad life. We were on a yacht last night.
Yes.
So
there's nothing wrong with 80-degree weather all summer long. Never too hot, never too cold. Immense things to do, so it works.
And also, just going back to the population, in California, definitely we have population leaving. I do think, though, San Diego is a different, unique beast. We have biotech, we have military, we have Tijuana border at the very south. We've got Camp Pendleton at the very north. We have mountains to the east, and we have the Pacific to the west. We don't have anywhere to go. So we can build up, but if you go further east, it just gets too hot. And it's just getting, the fires and everything. So like the actual coastal and also like San Diego Metro, I believe that if you're buying in a great place, and it goes back, like you can buy a bad condo building, you could buy something where they have horrible issues. But overall, if you're buying something, holding on to it, you will be totally fine with housing. That's my fair belief in housing in San Diego. It's too unique.
And absolutely. And I think so much of that can be, kind of rendered by this thought process of nobody has a crystal ball of the economy. There's a lot going on right now to combat inflation and other political stuff. You can also, begin to see the uptick in business that's coming to San Diego, like you said, with the tech and the biotech industries as well. I always encourage people to zoom out, right? Don't be so fixated on what's exactly happening right now in this 6-month period. To everybody I sold a home to, absolutely everybody in the last 15 months, as I said, I go back and I look at their home values and they've appreciated.
Yeah.
I don't think that there's anybody that's purchased within the last 5 years that is regretting their choice of purchasing, especially in our market, because they've had substantial gains. Now, do I think that we continue to see this 20% appreciation? Probably not, right? And that's just because of the overall effect on interest rates. People's monthly mortgages are being kind of escalated a little bit beyond or pushing the threshold of their means. So that's the only thing that I feel is slowing it down. I do believe that we are still in a seller's market, and San Diego is so unique that I think we will forever be in a seller's market. I think you have the product in a very desirable area, and no matter what the price, there's always going to be a need or a desire for that product.
For sure. And when we talk about seller's market or buyer's market, it goes back to, it's supposed to be as 90 days on the market, it then kind of starts shifting to a buyer's market. Right now, we are not seeing that. We don't even have, I believe, a month of inventory. So buyers are still having to come in competitive, and it goes back to the house. So if you're a seller, just because you have a listing and then you're going to sell your house does not mean it's going to sell. Now, 6 months ago, that was probably the case. But right now, your house has to have, if you've got carpet, I would put in flooring. I'd put in some hardwood flooring. I would put in, freshen up the walls, do a new fresh coat of paint. I would re-landscape. Whatever you can do, putting in a few $1,000s goes a long way right now, and you need it to stand out against the competition, because we are going to see more houses and more options for buyers. And I go back to buyers and it says, hey, interest rates were 2.5%, 3%, but at that time, if you're a brand new first-time home buyer, which most first-time home buyers will do 0% down for VA, there's 0% down for FHA, there's 3.5% down for FHA. So that first-time home buyer was never really a buyer when it was 3% interest rates. The reason being, there was 40 dang offers on the property. The seller would have never accepted your offer. So you never had the opportunity to get in at those interest rates. What I suggest, buy a damn place, build equity, so then when the next time, if anything happens where it's, like if that world is on sale and we get cheap money again, go after it and use the equity that you gained in your first property. I always say homeownership's like 3 steps. You buy your first place, then you can hopefully keep it, turn it into a rental, use that rental money to pay the mortgage and hopefully offset the next place. You buy the next house. And then at the time that happens, maybe you sell house number 1 and house number 2 and you buy your dream home because you got a huge down payment. I have clients that I've helped out and we talk about, is it the right time to buy? Is it the right time to sell? I'm doing it right now. I'm selling one of my multi-units and I'm at a 1031 exchange, which is a tax kind of deal, is where I'm wrapping the money of my sale equal or greater buying something else. I'm doing that right now. And I think it's a fantastic time to do it. I think real estate is always a great time depending on your situation.
And I really relay that to people too, as well, is that I do not believe that there is any perfect time. There are just better times, right? And everything will be situational based. I really encourage, because I work with a lot of first time home buyers, the principle of equity building. I kind of look at our appreciation, and I just look at, the average income of most individuals in our area. And I just think it's just going to be very difficult for people to outsave appreciation. It's
impossible.
It's as near as impossible as I can come to, but I don't ever like to use that word, because there might be some scenario where people are able to put away a massive amount of disposable income. But I mean, it would literally take somewhere between $8,000 to $10,000 of just easy money within, a 1 to 2 month period to be able to stack aside
every month
for the 12 years to accumulate, for the 12 months of the year to accumulate that appreciation. So, where I really tell people, our market's very unique. And if you watch the trend lines in appreciation between single family residences and then also condos and townhouses, even though the value of the homes are slightly off, the trajectory, or at least the trend lines, are going up at about the same appreciation levels. So when I tell people, you get into this condo, you build this equity, it might not be your forever home. It might not have the AC unit. Everything's fixable, right? Everything's changeable to me, except for the location of the property and how it makes you feel from a safety concern, right? If those two things are you're not a fan of them, they're probably never going to go away. But if you don't like something because it has this ugly green carpet like I showed you the other day, that's great. People will not go see that listing because that is a huge turnoff to them. Yep. So if I can get you into that condo and I can give you this perception of what this condo could be, use that to your advantage, because people are literally not even going to set up a showing to go see that property because of that one issue. We're going to use that to our advantage. Also, a lot right now with, like tenant occupied properties. I think most people just see homes that are time on market, and I can contest to this, especially, the 3 months ago when our market was really hot. Any sort of time on the market, people would just be like, oh, well, there's got to be something wrong with it. If it's been on the market for 10 or 11 days, somebody must have died there. Nobody likes it. Like something happened, right? Which isn't really the case. It could just be bad marketing.
Yeah.
They could have bad photos. They overpriced it. The availability is awful. They can only show on weekdays between 6 and 8 p.m., these weird time constraints. And if you educate your buyer on how you can use that to your advantage, which I do frequently, this could save you tens of thousands of dollars on your offer price and inevitably get them to negotiate all the way down.
Today's episode is brought to you by MarkPattisonRealEstate.com, my 6-week master real estate team course. My team was the first team ever to sell over 500 homes in a year in San Diego County. And I'm launching a course, and you can learn the fundamentals of how to launch a successful real estate team and implement proven systems and strategies that get you results fast. For more information, visit MarkPattisonRealEstate.com. Once again, that's MarkPattisonRealEstate.com.
And listen, sellers, what he's saying, all the things that buyers look for when they're able to get a price going down, it's because you overpriced or you only allowed properties to be shown on a day that ends in L, and there's no days, and you have 2 tenants where you can't get into the place. Like, make your property stand out. Make sure that you can get in there to show the property. And for buyers, the place with the green carpet, that's an excellent buy. And it is, like you said, real estate is not about the countertops. If you mention countertops with me and when I'm showing you property, I'm going to strangle you. No, I'm like, we will find out, but it's location. Is it on a busy road? Is it safe? Like, what do you feel about the place? Does it feel good to you? Because all the other stuff can be changed, and it's so easy to change. As long as it's not the major 4, which is plumbing, electrical, roofing, or foundation issue, which that's why we have our inspection period. That's why Rafael's going to go out there and make sure everything's good for you. And right now, as buyers, you can actually negotiate. Whereas beforehand, buyers were coming in and just saying, hey, seller, I want to have, X, Y, or Z repaired. And the sellers were like, yeah, right, I've got 7 other offers that I'm going to go with, kick bricks. That's what they basically were saying to us. And right now, you can negotiate as a buyer. And here's the thing. What's the worst that happens? If interest rates are so bad right now, and they do drop, there's a little thing that's called a refinance. Refi your house, and then you're locked in. Because if rates drop again, the freaking buyer pool, the buyers are going to go in a frenzy. They are going to be eating everything up because they're going to go, oh shit, we missed the boat the last time. let's freaking get after it this time. Like, imagine if interest rates did drop.
And that's exactly where I'm at. And, it might sound cliche, but me and Matthew, are a preferred lender. We talk about this all the time, and it may sound kind of cliche or corny, but we say marry the house, date the rate, and divorce the rent, right? Those are the three things that we're really going to.
I asked if I could have multiple spouses because I want multiple homes.
Multiple homes. Marry multiple homes if possible from the investment side.
Yes, but what that makes, you're marrying the house, but yes, even then, you're kind of dating the house because that's another thing. Some people will say, well, I'm not sure if I'm staying in San Diego forever. Who cares? I lived in my property. The first house I bought, I lived in it for 2 years while I was in college. Turned it into a rental for 11 years and sold it and made a huge profit. So like you are marrying the home, but you're kind of even just dating that. And the rate is temporary. If it goes down, who cares? Refi.
And that's where I'm really encouraging my buyers now too, right? Nobody has that crystal ball. In 6 to 12 months, even 18 months, the rate does in fact drop. You refinance. Over that 6, 12, or 18 months, I would argue that it is going to be very unlikely, if not impossible, for your home to depreciate in value over that 18 months, just over our life right now and what we're seeing. So why not take the appreciation over that time and then eventually cut your mortgage payment down, cash out, refi, and use that to, kind of do some improvement projects, further bolstering what your home would be valued at. There's a couple different avenues in which you can, go about it. And it's really about having somebody on your side to explain to you these benefits.
Yep. And it is, the news and the people that are speaking about what's happening have zero clue. The people on TikTok that are 19 years old, I'm sure there's a lot of 19-year-olds out there that are a lot smarter than I am about finance and real estate, but I'm telling you, majority are just doing it because they want to have that trendy, hey, what's happening? They want to have that breaking news kind of thing, and they want to go viral. And that's not what this is about. It's about getting into the home versus renting. It's about, hey, this property is too small for my family. It goes back to affordability. If you can afford it, if you got your finances in order, we can help you find the loan program. And mind you, there's loan programs out there. I just refinanced into an ARM loan. I was personally kind of nervous about ARM loans. ARM loans is, it's an adjustable rate. It could go up, it could go down. No, that's not true. There are set standards. And if you get in with the correct real estate agent and the correct lending party, they can get you some programs that actually make sense. And your interest rate won't have to be 6.5. It goes back to what you can afford, what your plan is. So sit down and strategize. When Rafael goes and meets a client, he's not just showing you the house. He can open the door for you. That's great. But really, you're bringing your expertise and the team's expertise of all of our sales. Last year, we did 800 just in San Diego County. He gets all that expertise to share with you on how we're going to move forward. There's still clients writing offers on our listings over asking. Like, yes, some homes are selling over asking, but if you only have one offer on your place, typically you can start negotiating. And if your agents aren't fighting for you and they don't know what the market's happening, you're really just overpaying. So get in with an agent that, right here, this guy's a freaking killer, so he can crush it for you. Get in, because it does matter who you work with. And having that on your side, people just think agent to agent doesn't matter, or doing a for sale by owner doesn't matter. Trust me, the money that you have or you spend is beneficial having an agent like Rafael.
And I think that that's really key, and something that I, really explain to my buyers or sellers. I really like them to know that the activeness in the market, both between myself and my team, are going to save them in the long run. It will also gain them money on the sales side. If you do not have a group of people that are actively in the industry that are looking, buying, and selling homes for their prospective buyers and sellers, then how do you have a true reflection of what the market is doing? Because you're not hearing this feedback. You don't know what somebody else's open house was like unless you actually were there. We have the benefit of finding, on our team, on our morning calls on Monday, and kind of going over what people saw during open houses, the 7 to 8, sellers that had listings, right? What was the feedback that you saw? How many people did you turn out? The other 40 people that are working alongside buyers, how many open houses did you go to? Were you the only one there? Was there a party? What are you seeing? So all of those things just come back to helping represent your buyer or seller a little bit more, because you can speak to them. I'm seeing them. My team is seeing them. This is what we're seeing quite often. And this is the way that we're going to use all of this information that we're gathering to work in your advantage, which is ultimately the benefit of having an advisor on your side.
For sure. And it is important that you're having all that experience because you're getting exponential experience in the time that you've been in. I would say someone that's been in the market or in the industry for 15 months on Porchlight has had probably 10 years of experience just because of all of the different, and I would even maybe see more because it's the compound effect. You're getting so much exposure to transactions that if you're a solo agent or if you're on a team where we don't share those stories, you're missing out. But basically, summary is, I believe it's always a good time to buy and sell. I think Rafael would agree, but it does matter what your situation is, where you're looking, and what your goals are. Like, we're here for you to be, able to figure out what's the next step in your next chapter in your life. And below all of Rafael's information, so you can hit him up, find him on Instagram, and follow his journey in real estate, because I know you're going to crush it, man.
I would love to continue on the trend line I'm going and continue to go even further. Truthfully, just take a lot of pride in helping people obtain the advantages of home ownership and then selling and relocating. I get that there's a lot of life circumstances that happen, and I feel I have a pretty good grasp and understanding of the market and continue to dive deeper into it. And that's why I feel like, obviously help other people reach their goals.
For sure. Couldn't agree more. All right, man.
Cool.
Thank you, buddy. Yes.
Thank you for tuning into the Mark Pattison Show today. If you enjoyed today's episode, please download so you can refer back. If you like this content and want to continue receiving real estate education for free, head over to your computer, scroll all the way down to the section after the episodes on the podcast, and select the 5 stars. If you're willing to commit to transforming your business, please visit my website, markpattisonrealestate.com. We've created a community of real estate professionals where we give back and share tips on how to succeed. Visit markpattisonrealestate.com. And remember, if you're not fucking up, then you're not trying.